The sharp ring of my phone cut through the silence of the break room. Another text from Edward. "Working late again, honey. Don't wait up." I stared at those words, the same ones I'd been getting 3 times a week for the past 2 months. Something felt different this time. My name is Serenity, and after 15 years of marriage, I should have trusted my instincts sooner. As a nurse in the ICU, I'm trained to notice when things aren't quite right, when patterns change, when something's off. But sometimes, we're blindest to what's right in front of us. Earth to Serenity. Rosalind waved her hand in front of my face. "Your break ended 5 minutes ago." I tucked my phone away and adjusted my scrubs. "Sorry, just got distracted. Edward's working late again." Rosalind's expression shifted slightly. "Third time this week?" "Yeah, the merger's keeping everyone busy," I replied, but even I didn't believe those words anymore. The rest of my shift passed in a blur of vital checks and medication rounds. By the time I clocked out, it was nearly midnight. The parking lot was almost empty, save for a few cars belonging to the night shift staff. I was about to head home when I spotted a familiar car in the far corner. My sister Jolie's red Mazda. My feet moved before my brain could process why she'd be here. As I got closer, I noticed Edward's black SUV parked 2 spaces away. My stomach twisted into knots. I heard their voices before I saw them, coming from behind the building near the service entrance. I pressed myself against the cold brick wall, my heart thundering in my chest. "We can't keep doing this," Jolie's voice trembled. "She's my sister." "Just a little longer," Edward replied. "I promise I'll tell her soon, once the investments pay off." "That's what you said 2 months ago," Jolie's voice rose. "I can't look her in the eye anymore. Do you know what this is doing to me?" "Lower your voice," Edward hissed. "Someone might hear." "Maybe they should," Jolie shot back. "Maybe then we'd have to stop lying." I stepped out from behind the wall, my hands shaking. "Maybe you should." They jumped apart like guilty teenagers. Edward's face went pale, while Jolie's eyes filled with tears. "Serenity," Edward started, taking a step toward me. "This isn't—" I held up my hand. Don't you dare say this isn't what it looks like." "Sis, please." Jolie reached for me, but I jerked away. "How long?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. Neither answered. "How long?" I demanded, loud enough to make them both flinch. 3 months, Jolie whispered, staring at the ground. I laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. 3 months. While I've been working double shifts to help pay for your gambling debts. I looked at Edward. And while I've been lending you money for your business venture, I turned to Jolie. "I can explain." Edward stepped forward again. "Can you explain why my sister? Can you explain why you both took everything I gave you and decided it wasn't enough?" My voice cracked. "Can you explain why you made me feel crazy for suspecting something was wrong?" "We never meant to hurt you," Jolie sobbed. "But you did it anyway." I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. "Who are you calling?" Edward asked, panic creeping into his voice. "A cab," I replied coldly, "because I can't trust myself to drive right now. And when I get home, Edward, I want you gone." "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care. Figure it out. You're good at scheming, aren't you?" As I walked away, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I heard about Edward and Jolie. I'm Edward's sister, Yvonne. We should talk. I think you'll want to hear what I have to say." I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the reply button. The old Serenity would have deleted it, would have tried to fix things, would have found a way to forgive. But standing in that parking lot, watching my husband and sister whisper urgently to each other, I realized something. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who counted on your forgiveness. I typed back, "When and where?" The reply came instantly. "Tomorrow, noon, the coffee shop on 5th. You'll know me when you see me." I looked back one last time at Edward and Jolie, still huddled together in their shared guilt. They had no idea what was coming. Neither did I, but for the first time in years, I felt something other than tired. I felt angry. And maybe, just maybe, that anger would be enough to help me take back everything they'd stolen from me. starting with my dignity. The coffee shop buzzed with the usual lunch crowd, but I spotted Yvonne immediately. She had Edward's sharp jawline and the same calculating eyes, but there was something different about her, something harder, more determined. She sat at a corner table, wearing a crisp business suit, her laptop open in front of her. "You must be Serenity," she said as I approached. "You look exactly like your Facebook photos." I slid into the seat across from her. "And you look exactly like Edward, except better dressed." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Let me guess. He told you I was the crazy sister who tried to ruin his life. He said you were unstable and jealous of his success." Yvonne laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Success? Is that what he calls gambling away his inheritance and conning people out of their savings?" The waitress appeared and I ordered a black coffee, needing something strong to steady my nerves. "How much has he taken from you?" Yvonne asked once we were alone. 60,000, I admitted. "Our entire savings. He said it was for investment opportunities. Let me show you something." Yvonne turned her laptop toward me. On the screen were bank statements, text messages, and photos, dozens of them. "Edward has a pattern. He finds someone trusting, someone who believes in family and loyalty. Then he bleeds them dry." My hands trembled as I scrolled through the evidence. "He did this before? 3 times, always with a partner." Yvonne pulled out her phone and showed me a series of text messages. "Your sister Jolie isn't just his lover, she's his accomplice. They've been planning this for months." "No," I shook my head. "Jolie wouldn't." "She's not smart enough," Yvonne finished. "That's what makes her perfect. Nobody suspects her. But look at this." She pulled up a document showing transfers from my account to an offshore bank. Each withdrawal coincided with money I'd loaned Jolie for her supposed business venture. "They're planning to leave the country," Yvonne said quietly. "Next month. They've already bought the tickets." The coffee arrived, but I couldn't drink it. My stomach was in knots. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because 8 years ago, Edward and his previous partner did the same thing to me. I lost everything. My savings, my reputation, my relationship with our parents. They believed him over me." Yvonne's voice hardened. "I've spent years gathering evidence, waiting for him to do it again. And now, with your help, we can stop him." "What do you want me to do?" "Help me expose them. Not just to the family, but to everyone. I have a plan, but I need someone on the inside." I thought about all the double shifts, all the times I'd gone without so Edward could invest our money. I thought about Jolie, my baby sister, who I'd protected and supported her entire life. "If we do this," I said slowly, "there's no going back." "There's already no going back," Yvonne replied. "They made that choice for you." My phone buzzed, a text from Jolie. "Can we talk? Please, I need to explain." "They're getting nervous," Yvonne observed. "Good, let them squirm." I showed her the text. What should I do? Meet her. Act confused, hurt but not angry. Make her think you might forgive her. We need them to believe they still have control. I don't know if I can face her without... Without what? Screaming? Crying? They're counting on your emotions, Serenity. They expect you to fall apart, prove them wrong. I took a deep breath. What's the plan? Yvonne leaned forward, her voice low. There's a family reunion next month, right before their planned departure. Everyone will be there. Parents, cousins, friends, the perfect audience. And we're going to give them exactly what they want, a chance to explain themselves. Only this time, they'll have to explain to everyone. She pulled out a small device. This is a recording pen. Start carrying it. Record everything. We need their confessions, their plans, everything. My hands shook as I took the pen. Is this legal? In this state? Absolutely. I'm a lawyer, remember? Yvonne's smile was razor-sharp. But that's not all. I have a friend, a private investigator named Stuart. He's been tracking Edward's gambling debts. What we've found, let's just say the police will be very interested. I thought about my parents, about how this would destroy them. The family will never recover from this. The family is already broken, Serenity. They just don't know it yet. Yvonne reached across the table and squeezed my hand. The question is, are you ready to show them the truth? I looked down at my phone, at Jolie's pleading text, then at the evidence on Yvonne's laptop. Everything I believed about family, about loyalty, about love, it had all been used against me. Tell me more about Stuart, I said, picking up the recording pen, and tell me exactly what I need to do. Yvonne's smile widened. That's what I was hoping you'd say. Now, let's talk about how we're going to make them regret ever underestimating you. The diner where I agreed to meet Jolie was nearly empty. I arrived early, the recording pen tucked safely in my purse, my heart racing with every passing minute. Yvonne's words echoed in my head. Let her talk. The more she says, the more we have. Jolie walked in 15 minutes late, her eyes red and puffy. She'd always been the pretty one, the charming one, but now she looked small and scared. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. I didn't respond, just stirred my coffee slowly, watching the cream create patterns in the dark liquid. Serenity, please say something, she pleaded. What do you want me to say? I kept my voice quiet, controlled, just like Yvonne had coached me. That it's okay, that I understand. I never meant for any of this to happen. Jolie reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Edward and I, it just happened. Things don't just happen, Jolie. People make choices. The waitress appeared, and Jolie ordered a water with lemon, her hands shaking as she spoke. Perfect timing. I needed her to keep talking. Edward said he was unhappy, she continued once we were alone. He said you were always working, that you didn't understand him. And that made it okay. I leaned forward. Tell me something. Those business ventures you needed money for, were they real? Jolie's face paled. Of course they were. I'm going to pay you back, I swear. When? I pressed. Before or after you leave the country? Her water glass slipped from her hand, spilling across the table. What are you talking about? Nothing, I said, helping her mop up the spill with napkins. Just something Edward mentioned about wanting to travel. She relaxed slightly, but I could see the panic in her eyes. Oh, right. Yeah, we've talked about vacations, but nothing serious. My phone buzzed, a text from Stuart. Got the casino footage. Meeting at Yvonne's office in 30. I have to go, I said, standing up. My shift starts soon. Wait, Jolie grabbed my arm. There's something else. Edward. He's not who you think he is. He's been lying to both of us. I sat back down slowly. What do you mean? He's in trouble, Serenity. Big trouble. The money. It wasn't just for investments. Tears welled in her eyes. He owes people. Dangerous people. That's why Why you what? I can't. She shook her head. I've already said too much. Just be careful, okay? Don't trust him. I almost laughed at the irony of my sister warning me not to trust my husband. A bit late for that, don't you think? I'm trying to protect you, she insisted. Like you protected me by sleeping with my husband, by stealing my money. You don't understand. Then make me understand. I slammed my hand on the table, making her jump. Several heads turned our way. Jolie lowered her voice to a whisper. Edward has a plan. He says he can fix everything, pay everyone back. We just need a little more time. How much more money does he need? She hesitated. Another 50,000. And let me guess, you want me to give it to you? Just think about it, she pleaded. For me, for family. I stood up again, my legs steady despite the rage burning through me. You lost the right to ask for anything in the name of family. As I walked out, I heard her call after me. Serenity, please. You don't know what they'll do to him. I made it to my car before the tears came. With trembling hands, I pulled out the recording pen and stopped it. Then I called Yvonne. Did you get it? She asked. Yes. She practically admitted to everything. And there's more. Something about Edward owing money to dangerous people. That's what Stuart wants to show us. How fast can you get to my office? I wiped my eyes. 15 minutes. Good. And Serenity, you did well. The scared sister act. She bought it completely. I stared at myself in the rearview mirror, wondering when I'd learned to lie so convincingly. I wasn't entirely acting. I know, Yvonne's voice softened, but remember, they're the ones who taught us how to play this game. We're just better at it. As I drove to Yvonne's office, I thought about Jolie's warning. Part of me wanted to believe she was trying to protect me, that somewhere beneath the betrayal was the sister I'd grown up with. But Yvonne was right. They'd taught me this game, and now it was my turn to play. Stuart would be waiting with the casino footage, and with it, another piece of the puzzle would fall into place. The family reunion was 3 weeks away. 3 weeks to gather evidence, to strengthen my resolve, to prepare for the moment when everything would change. 3 weeks to become someone my sister and husband would never see coming. Stuart's laptop cast a blue glow across Yvonne's dimly lit office as he pulled up the casino footage. He was older than I expected, with salt and pepper hair and eyes that had seen too much. "Watch this," he said, pointing to the screen. "Your husband's been busy." The video showed Edward at a high-stakes poker table, Jolie hovering behind him, whispering in his ear. But it wasn't their closeness that made my stomach turn. It was the man sitting across from them. "That's Marcus Torres," Stuart explained. "Local loan shark, known for breaking more than just bank accounts when people don't pay." "How much does Edward owe him?" Yvonne asked. "Based on my sources?" Stuart leaned back in his chair. "Close to 200,000. The room spun. 200,000? That's impossible. Where did he even get that kind of money to lose? That's the interesting part. Stuart clicked through several documents. "Your sister's been busy too. Look at these loan applications." My hand shook as I read through the papers. Loan after loan, all in my name, using my social security number, my credit history. "Identity theft," Yvonne said quietly. "They've been stealing your identity to secure loans." "But how? I never signed anything." Stuart pulled out a document with my signature. "They didn't need you to. Jolie had access to your personal documents, didn't she?" I thought back to all the times I'd trusted her with my paperwork, my passwords, my life. She helped me organize my files when we moved last year. "Perfect opportunity to gather everything they needed," Yvonne said. "And with Edward's gambling addiction—" "It gets worse," Stuart interrupted, pulling up more footage. "See that envelope Jolie's passing to Marcus? That's not money, it's medical records." My blood ran cold. "From the hospital?" Stuart nodded. "They're selling patient information. Insurance fraud, identity theft, you name it. Marcus has connections who pay good money for that kind of data." "Oh, God," I pressed my hand to my mouth. "I could lose my license. I could go to jail. Not if we play this right." Yvonne squeezed my shoulder. "We have proof it wasn't you." "But how do we use this without exposing Serenity?" Stuart asked. "The hospital board won't care if she was innocent. Just being connected to this could end her career." Yvonne smiled that razor-sharp smile again. "Leave that to me. I didn't spend 15 years as a corporate lawyer for nothing." My phone buzzed, Edward calling. I showed the screen to Yvonne. "Answer it," she mouthed. "Remember, confused and hurt, not angry." I took a deep breath and picked up. "Hello?" "Serenity, baby, please come home." Edward's voice was thick with emotion. "We need to talk about this." "Talk about what? How you slept with my sister, or how you gambled away our savings? It's not that simple. I'm in trouble, real trouble. I need your help." I caught Yvonne's eye. She nodded encouragingly. "What kind of trouble?" "I can't explain over the phone. Just come home. Please, I'll tell you everything." Stuart was frantically typing on his laptop, then turned it to show me a message. "Trap. Marcus's men were at your house an hour ago." "I can't," I said into the phone. "I'm working a double shift." "Since when?" Edward's voice sharpened. "Since always. You just never noticed because you were too busy with my sister." "Damn it, Serenity, this is serious. I need—" "No," I cut him off. "What you need is to figure out your own mess. I'm done fixing things for you." I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. "They're getting desperate," Stuart observed. Marcus must be pressing for payment. Good, Yvonne said. Desperate people make mistakes. And speaking of mistakes, she pulled out a USB drive. I had my IT guy trace those loan applications. Guess where they were submitted from? Jolie's computer. Better. The hospital's network. During your shifts. I felt sick. They made it look like I was doing everything myself. Exactly. But here's their mistake. The hospital's security cameras show Jolie accessing your computer when you were in surgery. We have dates, times, everything. Stuart whistled. That's not just theft. That's premeditated fraud. And our smoking gun, Yvonne added. The family reunion is in 2 weeks. By then, we'll have everything we need. I stared at the casino footage, at Edward and Jolie looking so comfortable in their deception. What if they run before then? They won't, Stuart assured me. They need one more big score to pay off Marcus. And they think you're their ticket to getting it. Speaking of tickets, Yvonne pulled up an email. Their flight to Buenos Aires just got moved up to the day after the reunion. I felt a cold certainty settle over me. They're planning something at the reunion. Yes, Yvonne agreed, and so are we. The pre-reunion dinner was Jolie's idea. Just family, she'd said on the phone, to clear the air before everyone arrives tomorrow. I knew it was a trap, but that was exactly what we needed. I adjusted the recording pen in my blazer pocket as I walked into the restaurant. Edward and Jolie had chosen a private dining room at the back, perfect for their purposes, and even better for mine. Serenity! Jolie rushed to hug me. I let her, feeling the recording pen press against my chest. Thank you for coming. Edward stood awkwardly by the table, looking haggard. You look beautiful, he said softly. Save it, I replied, taking my seat. The small microphone Stuart had hidden under the table earlier that day was exactly where it should be. Can we order some wine? Jolie asked, her voice too bright. We should celebrate. Celebrate what? I asked. The death of my marriage, the destruction of our family. No, Edward leaned forward. A new beginning. We have a proposition for you. Right on cue, I took a sip of water, letting them stew in the silence. We can fix everything, Jolie said. Make it right, but we need your help. My help? I laughed bitterly. Haven't I helped enough? Edward reached for my hand across the table. I wanted to pull away, but Yvonne's voice echoed in my head. Let him think he's in control. Baby, listen, he said. I know I messed up. We both did. But I have a way to make it right. To pay back everything we owe you, with interest. I'm listening. Jolie glanced around nervously before lowering her voice. There's a new investment opportunity. Guaranteed returns, but we need capital. How much? 75,000, Edward said quickly. Just for 2 weeks. Then you'll get back double. I pulled my hand away. Are you insane? After everything, you want more money? It's different this time, Jolie insisted. We have proof. Show her, Edward. He pulled out some documents. Fancy-looking certificates with gold seals. Stuart had warned me about these. Fake investment documents, professionally printed to look legitimate. Look at the returns. Edward pointed to the numbers. It's foolproof. Like all your other foolproof plans? I stood up. I can't believe you thought I'd fall for this. Serenity, wait. Jolie grabbed my arm. There's something we haven't told you. Something big. I sat back down slowly. This was it. The confession we needed. We're in trouble, Edward said, his voice cracking. Real trouble. Those loans we took out. What loans? Jolie shot Edward a warning look, but he continued. The ones in your name. We needed the money for investments, but things went wrong. Now there's this guy, Marcus. Edward, stop, Jolie interrupted. We agreed not to... She needs to know, Edward snapped. They're threatening us, Serenity, if we don't pay by the end of the week. My phone buzzed. The signal from Stuart that he had enough. I stood up again. So let me get this straight, I said, my voice steady. You stole my identity, took out fraudulent loans, and now you want me to give you more money to pay off a loan shark. When you say it like that, Jolie began, how else should I say it? I pulled out my phone and showed them the casino footage Stuart had sent me. Like this? Or should I show the hospital security footage of you accessing my computer? Their faces went pale. How did you... Edward started. Get this? I finished. Let's just say I had help. The kind of help that knows exactly what you've been doing with those patient records you've been selling. Jolie burst into tears. You don't understand. Marcus said he'd hurt us if we didn't. Save it for tomorrow, I cut her off. I'm sure the whole family will love hearing about it at the reunion. You wouldn't, Edward stood up, his face dark with anger. Think about what this would do to your parents, like you thought about them when you were stealing from their daughter, when you were selling private medical information. If you expose us, he growled, you'll go down too. Your name is on those loans. I smiled, channeling Yvonne's razor-sharp confidence. Try me. As I walked out, I heard Jolie call after me. Please, don't do this. We can work something out. Outside, Stuart was waiting in his car. Got it all, he confirmed, holding up his laptop. The confession, the threats, everything. Send it to Yvonne, I said, my hands finally starting to shake. And Stuart, have someone watch my house tonight. I don't trust them not to try something desperate. He nodded grimly. Already on it. You okay? I looked back at the restaurant where Edward and Jolie were having what appeared to be a heated argument through the window. No, I admitted, but I will be. After tomorrow, everything changes. That it does, Stuart agreed. That it does. The family reunion was in full swing at my parents' house when Yvonne arrived, right on schedule. She looked every inch the successful lawyer in her designer suit, commanding attention the moment she walked in. Edward, she called out, her voice carrying across the backyard. Aren't you going to greet your sister? The chatter died down. Edward froze, his drink halfway to his lips. Jolie, who'd been nervously hovering near him all afternoon, looked like she might faint. Yvonne, my mother stepped forward, always the peacemaker. We weren't expecting you. Obviously, Yvonne smiled, but Serenity invited me. We've become quite close recently. Edward's eyes darted between us. I could almost see him putting the pieces together. What are you doing here? He demanded. Funny story. Yvonne pulled out her tablet. I was going through some old financial records and found something interesting. Would you like to see? This isn't the time, Edward growled. My father stepped forward. What's going on? Yes, Edward, I said, my voice steady. Why don't you tell everyone what's going on? Jolie grabbed Edward's arm. We should go. Nobody's going anywhere, Yvonne announced. She nodded to Stuart, who emerged from inside the house, blocking the exit. Not until the truth comes out. What truth? My mother asked. I took a deep breath. The truth about how Edward and Jolie stole my identity to take out loans. About how they've been selling patient information from the hospital. About how they planned to run away to Buenos Aires with the money they stole from all of us. The silence was deafening. She's lying, Jolie said quickly. She's just angry because Edward and I... Because you what? I interrupted. Fell in love. Is that what you call this? Yvonne connected her tablet to the outdoor speakers. Let's hear what you call it in your own words. The recording from last night played crystal clear across the yard. Edward and Jolie's voices confessing to the loans, the fraud, the threats from Marcus. Turn it off. Edward lunged for the tablet, but Stuart stepped in his way. There's more, Yvonne said calmly. Security footage, bank records, flight confirmations. Would you like to see those too? My mother sank into a chair, her face ashen. Jolie, tell me this isn't true. Mum, I can explain, Jolie started crying. Edward said it would be easy money. He said nobody would get hurt. Don't you dare blame this on me, Edward shouted. You were the one who suggested selling the patient records. The gathered family members gasped. My aunt pulled out her phone, probably already dialing other relatives to spread the news. How much? My father's voice was quiet but fierce. How much did you steal from my daughter? 250,000 all told, Yvonne answered, plus another 100,000 in fraudulent loans taken out in her name. We were going to pay it back, Jolie sobbed. With what? I asked. The money you were trying to get from me last night? Or the money you're running from Marcus over? As if on cue, 2 police cars pulled up outside the house. Stuart must have made the call. What did you do? Edward's face contorted with rage. He started toward me, but Stuart caught him. I'd be careful, Stuart warned. Assaulting a witness won't help your case. The police entered the backyard. Edward Sanderson, Jolie Chavez, we have some questions about reported financial fraud and theft of medical records. You'll regret this, Edward spat as they led him away. Marcus will make sure of it. Marcus won't be a problem, Yvonne smiled. The FBI is quite interested in his operation. They're picking him up as we speak. Jolie struggled against the officer holding her. Serenity, please, I'm your sister. You stopped being my sister the moment you chose to destroy my life. As they were led away, my mother broke down crying. My father held her, looking years older than he had an hour ago. I'm sorry, I told them. I wanted to protect you from this, but... No, my father said firmly. We needed to know. The whole family needed to know what they really are. Relatives were already hurrying to their phones, spreading the story. By tomorrow, everyone would know about Edward and Jolie's betrayal. Yvonne touched my arm. You okay? I watched the police cars drive away, taking with them the 2 people I'd trusted most in the world. No, but I will be. The hospital board meets tomorrow, she reminded me. Ready to tell them your side? I nodded. With the evidence we had, they'd understand I was a victim, not a participant. My career would survive. My aunt approached, hugging me tightly. We're here for you, sweetheart, whatever you need. Looking around at my family, the ones who remained true, I felt something shift inside me. The betrayal still hurt, but now there was something else, strength. They had tried to destroy me, but instead, they'd only revealed their own darkness. And in that revelation, I found my light. The hospital boardroom felt colder than usual as I sat before the panel of administrators, Yvonne at my side. The local news had already picked up the story. Hospital data breach linked to gambling ring, and my name was inevitably mentioned. Ms. Sanderson, Dr. Roberts, the chief administrator, adjusted his glasses. We've reviewed the evidence provided by your attorney. However, the breach occurred under your login credentials. Because they were stolen, Yvonne interjected, as the security footage clearly shows. She played the video again, Jolie accessing my computer during my surgeries, Edward meeting with Marcus in the hospital parking lot, the paper trail linking them to the data theft. The FBI has confirmed my client's role as a victim, Yvonne continued. She's cooperating fully with their investigation. Dr. Roberts leaned forward. And the patients whose data was compromised? I've already started contacting them personally, I said, my voice steady. Explaining the situation, providing identity theft protection services. It's coming out of my own pocket. That's not necessary, one of the board members said softly. Yes, it is, I insisted. These people trusted me with their information. Even if I didn't betray that trust personally, I need to make it right. The board members exchanged glances. Dr. Roberts cleared his throat. There's another matter we need to discuss. The media attention. My heart sank. This was what I'd been dreading. Has actually been surprisingly positive, he finished. What? I looked up sharply. He slid a tablet across the table. On it was an article from the morning paper. Nurse helps uncover major healthcare fraud ring. Below it were comments from patients and colleagues, defending my character, praising my integrity. Your colleagues have been quite vocal in their support, another board member added, especially about how you're handling the aftermath. We'd like you to head up a new security initiative, Dr. Roberts said, working with IT to prevent similar breaches in the future, with a promotion, of course. I felt tears threatening but held them back. Thank you, but what about the patients who were affected? That's exactly why we want you in charge, he replied. You're putting them first, even now. As we left the meeting, Yvonne squeezed my shoulder. See? Sometimes doing the right thing actually works out. My phone buzzed. A text from Stuart. Turn on the news. Now. We rushed to the hospital lounge where the TV was always on. The headline made my blood freeze. Local loan shark found dead in prison cell. Marcus is dead, I whispered. Apparent suicide, the reporter said, though investigators are looking into possible foul play. Sources say he was preparing to testify about a larger criminal organization. This changes things, Yvonne said grimly. Edward's connections might run deeper than we thought. My phone rang. The prison where Jolie was being held. Hello? Serenity? Jolie's voice was trembling. Did you hear about Marcus? Yes. They're going to kill us next. Edward. He knew people through Marcus. Bad people. Please, you have to help me. Like you helped me, I shot back. I'll tell you everything, she promised. Names, dates, accounts, everything Edward never told you about. Just, please get me moved to a different facility, somewhere safer. I looked at Yvonne, who was already taking notes. Start talking, I said. What followed was a 30-minute confession that made my skin crawl. Edward hadn't just been gambling. He'd been laundering money for Marcus's organization. The patient data wasn't just for identity theft. It was being used to create false medical claims worth millions. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because I'm scared, Jolie sobbed. And because you're still my sister, even if I don't deserve to call you that anymore. After hanging up, I slumped against the wall. What do we do? We call the FBI, Yvonne said firmly. This is bigger than revenge now. These people need to be stopped. My phone buzzed again, an unknown number. The text made my heart stop. Your sister made the right choice. Watch your back. E. He's threatening me from prison. I showed Yvonne the text. No, she said, her face grim. He's threatening you through someone on the outside. Someone who can still hurt you. Stuart appeared in the doorway looking worried. We need to move you. Now. I've got a safe house ready. I'm not running, I said. I didn't hide from their betrayal, and I won't hide from their threats. Then we fight, Yvonne declared. But this time, we're not just exposing them. We're taking down their entire operation. I thought about the patients whose data was stolen, about Marcus's suspicious death, about Edward's hidden connections. This had grown beyond my personal vendetta. It was about justice now. Okay, I nodded. Where do we start? Yvonne smiled that dangerous smile again. With the one thing they never expected, the truth, all of it. And this time, we're going to make sure everyone hears it. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters as I made my way inside. Yvonne walked beside me, Stuart following close behind. This was it, the final testimony that would bring everything to light. Ready? Yvonne squeezed my hand. I nodded, catching sight of Edward being led in through a side entrance. He looked thinner, harder, his eyes cold when they met mine. Jolie was already inside, having testified yesterday about the full extent of the medical fraud operation. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman named Diana, met us outside the courtroom. Remember, just tell them exactly what you told me. Start with when you first discovered the identity theft. The courtroom fell silent as I took the stand. Edward's lawyer, a sleek man in an expensive suit, watched me like a hawk. Ms. Sanderson, Diana began, please tell the court how you discovered your identity had been stolen. I took a deep breath. I thought I was just helping my husband with his gambling debts. Then I learned he and my sister had taken out loans in my name, used my hospital access to steal patient data, and planned to flee the country. And what happened when you confronted them? They tried to convince me to give them more money, $75,000. That's when they admitted to working with Marcus Torres. Edward's lawyer stood up. Objection. Marcus Torres's death has no bearing. Overruled, the judge interrupted. Continue. I described everything, the recordings, the threats, the way Edward's organization had infiltrated the hospital's systems. With each word, I watched Edward's face grow darker. And what made you decide to come forward? Diana asked. The patients, I said simply. When I realized their information was being sold, that their lives were being put at risk, I couldn't stay quiet. The defense attorney's cross-examination was brutal. "Isn't it true you orchestrated this exposure for revenge?" "No," I met his eyes. "I orchestrated it for justice. There's a difference. A difference that cost Marcus Torres his life." "Objection," Diana called out. "Withdrawn," the lawyer smiled smugly. But I wasn't finished. "Marcus Torres died because your client's organization couldn't risk him talking. The same organization that's been threatening my life since I testified to the FBI." The lawyer paled slightly. Behind him, Edward's mask slipped, showing a flash of panic. After I stepped down, Diana called her final witness, a former member of Edward's organization who'd turned state's evidence. As he detailed the entire operation, I watched Edward's composure crumble completely. The jury took only 3 hours to reach their verdict, guilty on all counts. As the judge read out Edward's sentence, 25 years, he finally broke his silence. "You think this is over?" he shouted at me. "You have no idea what's coming." "Actually, we do." Stewart stepped forward, badge in hand. "FBI Special Agent Stewart Wood. Your associates have already been arrested, all of them." Edward's face went ash white. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Outside, Yvonne handled the press while I slipped away to a quiet corridor. Jolie was waiting there, flanked by guards. "They're moving me to witness protection tomorrow," she said softly. "I know. I'll never be able to make this right, will I?" I looked at my sister, really looked at her. "No, but you did the right thing in the end. That counts for something. Take care of Mom and Dad." "Always did." As they led her away, Rosalind appeared beside me. "You okay?" "Getting there." I managed a small smile. "The hospital board wants me to speak at a healthcare security conference next month about preventing fraud and protecting patient data. From victim to expert," she nudged my shoulder. "Not bad." "More like from victim to survivor to advocate," I corrected. My phone buzzed, a text from Stewart. "All clear, last of Edward's contacts in custody. You're safe." Yvonne joined us, looking triumphant. "The FBI's investigating 3 other hospitals for similar schemes. Your testimony broke open a nationwide operation." "So what now?" Rosalind asked. I thought about the patients I'd been helping, the security protocols I'd been developing, the support group I'd started for other fraud victims. "Now," I smiled, "now we keep fighting. Different battle, same mission, protecting people who trust us with their lives." "Speaking of trust," Yvonne pulled out an envelope. "The medical board wants to appoint you to their ethics committee. Apparently, standing up to corruption makes you qualified to prevent it." I took the envelope, feeling its weight in my hands. Not just paper, possibility, a chance to turn betrayal into purpose. "You know what the best revenge is?" I said, watching the sun set through the courthouse windows. "What's that?" Rosalind asked. "Living well, and making sure what happened to you can't happen to anyone else." Yvonne linked her arm through mine. "Come on, the team's waiting to celebrate." As we walked out together, lawyer, nurse, friend, survivor, I realized something. Edward and Jolie had tried to destroy my life, but instead, they'd helped me build a stronger one. One based not on blind trust, but on purpose, on protection, on truth. And that was a victory no one could steal.